guys, today I'm going to show you a little bit of my cooking. So I'm going to cook right now some pot roast. Even though it's an old-fashioned dish, I'm actually going to slow cook it, but I'm going to start it on the actual hob itself. And when I say hob, I mean the cooker. So in my pan here, I'm going to swing the camera around, so hopefully it's not too dark so you can actually see what I'm doing. So in the pan here, I have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil and some butter. That's about a tablespoon of butter. And what I'm going to start off doing is to just add in some peppers and some garlic. Now they're all mixed in together. You can see the garlic there. And I'm just going to cook this off with some dried rosemary. So the roast itself is lamb, and I'm putting about a good half a teaspoon there, okay? Now, what a lot of people do incorrectly when using dried herbs is that they use a very little bit, okay? And that does not work. It doesn't really bring the flavor out. So you need to add a sufficient amount in order to draw the flavors out. And I'm just simply dry frying here in the sense that I'm using the oils, with just the butter and the olive oil to release the flavor from the peppers. So I'm going to do this for about a minute or so. I do not want it wilted too much, bearing in mind that this is going to be slow cooked. What I'm aiming here is just to amalgamate both flavors together, i.e. the garlic as well as the peppers and the rosemary. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do there. And just give it a good swirl around. So as I said, leave it on there for about 2 minutes or so, and then we can add it back into the slow cooker. And then I will take the lamb and then use the same pan itself to help brown the lamb. Alright, so let's move on to that in a minute. Okay, so the peppers are beginning to get charred slightly. And I don't want it to overcook or anything, so this is ideal at the moment. So what we're going to do now is to simply just toss it into the slow cooker and leave it there. And then we're going to add the lamb. Okay, so this is the lamb here. It has been deboned. Okay, so there's no bone. It's actually a leg. Sorry, a shoulder, my apologies, and it's been deboned. So I have sprinkled a little bit of the dried rosemary on top, and what I have also done is add little holes within, as you can see, I can poke my finger through there, holes within the lamb, and I'm just going to take some slivers of garlic and poke it through. So I've already cut it up there. And just add it into those holes there. I'm going to do that all over, and I'm actually going to do it in the middle there also, because I really want those flavors to extend there. Okay, once I have done that, however, I will just add a crack of pepper all over it. Okay, a crack of black pepper all over it, again with a little bit of salt. I like to actually add a little bit of salt over it also. Now the pan here with all of the juices from the rosemary, the oil, the garlic, etc., the butter, from the peppers is here, and it's nice and hot. So all I'm literally going to do is to pick up the lamb and literally going to put it this side down. Okay, so the meat side down, because at the back here is where the fat is. As we know with lamb, you do get that. So I'm going to put it front side down in that pan there. All right. And I'm just going to seal it. So I'm going to brown it all over. I'm going to do it on the other side and on both sides. So basically this side, that side, and flip it over. So as long as it's nice and brown. Once we've done that, then we're going to add it into the pot with the peppers themselves. Okay? So I'm going to show you what I've done with the peppers, and then we move on. So the peppers are in there. Alright? So as you know, I've cooked them off already, just slightly cooked them just to add some color and to release the flavors. And I have it on just a high heat, and I'm going to dry roast it. So I'm not going to add any liquid at all. Okay, so I'm using a slow cooker. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just trying it out to see what it works like. Okay, so let's move on. Okay guys, so one side has been browned. It has been in there for at least 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm just going to flip it over. Okay, that's beautiful. So we're going to brown the other side, or in this case seal the flavor in for another 2 to 3 minutes, and then we would add it to the slow cooker. And then no liquid, we're going to slow cook this sort of dry, because if we add liquid then it's going to become a stew and we don't really want to do that. Alright, so another 2 to 3 minutes on the side of that. Just turn it down, and when you put it in, you are going to put it in your slow cooker on the side that I turned down last. So this is your side that you're going to see facing you. Okay? Alright, so that meat is actually in now. So most important guys, don't get rid of any sort of flavors you have in your pan here. Now this is really important, and this is these are chefing things that you do. You don't get rid of that. You don't tip down that in the sink, because that's lots of flavors there. So I'm just going to drizzle it over there. Make sure alright, and I'm just going to let this cook now very slowly in the slow cooker, most likely for about 2 hours, and then I will show you what it looks like. Now if you want to roast this off in your oven at this stage, you can. I would say just add some foil over it and really seal it in nicely, and you can roast it that way. Okay, now it would give you some juices ideally, because obviously you're sort of steaming it, but because we've browned it on both sides and to give it that coloration, you should have no problem. It shouldn't look pale really, so make sure you get a nice depth of color to release those flavors. Okay, so let's move on now to putting the lid on over this and put it into slow cook for an hour and a half. We want that to really be a beautiful texture and color on the inside. Alright guys, so I'm going to cook some accompaniments now to the lamb. The lamb is cooking really nicely, and I think it's been on there for approximately an hour now. And so what I'm having here is some butter. Now I cook with the butter a lot. I don't necessarily use oil, and if I do, most likely it's olive oil or vegetable oil. But I do use a lot of butter in my cooking, because I think and I believe that it releases a lot more flavor. Okay, so in here is another tablespoon of butter with some freshly chopped garlic. Another thing I use a lot is garlic, because it releases very good toxins for the body. Okay, now what I'm going to add into this, and you can see the butter is starting to burn. Now a lot of people get worried when they see the butter burning, and what is actually burning off is the milky sediments within the butter, because obviously butter has milk in it. Okay, so when you see it starts to get dark, is because you're just burning off the milk. However, if you burn it completely, you've got to start again. All right, so I'm going to add some mixed veg into there, and pick up this from the supermarket. It's already been done for you. I'm going to add all of that in there and just cook it off slowly. Now I'm going to use basmati rice in this. Add the balance over there. And I'm just going to wilt it down. Now to wilt just simply means to make the vegetables limp. Okay, I don't want to add any color to it. I'm just gently sweating it off. Another chatty terminology. I'm just sweating it off, and that just mainly means I'm softening it down and amalgamating all the flavors again. Alright? Just tossing that together there. We'll leave that for a minute and let that cook down. You can hear that sizzling there. So once that cooks down, what I'm going to do now is to get my rice ready, and it's just for me and Carl, so I'm going to use approximately 150 grams of rice to add into this particular dish here. So I'm going to get my basmati rice now. Alright, now my vegetables are all wilted down nicely. And I'm going to add some mixed herbs into it. And again, about half a teaspoon there. Now, guys, I'll be very frank with you. I'm very much an averager. Okay, I've been cooking for years, so I don't necessarily use, teaspoons and stuff like that. So half a teaspoon. And when I say teaspoon, I mean a measurement of. Okay, I can average what half a teaspoon more or less looks like. Okay. The next thing I'm going to add as well is the rice and some black pepper. I do like a crack of black fresh pepper within my cooking, as well as some sea salt. Sea salt is very good, rather than using the iodized salt, which is just salty really. Sea salt gives a more depth of flavor. And I'm going to add my basmati rice. Now, basmati rice has a lot more flavor than ordinary rice, so that's the reason why I'm using that. Okay. Okay, so a couple of cracks of black pepper. Taking the lid off will help because it's all caught in the lid there. There you go. And I use fresh black cracked pepper because it adds more flavor into the dish itself. Okay, and remember to keep it moving. My temperature, or my heat source in this case, is just low. It is not high at all. And I'm going to add some rice now. Probably I should have gotten this open before, but I didn't. So there you go. Yeah, that's what you call bad planning, guys. Carl says I'm drunk. I am actually drinking Bundaberg and Coke, but I'm not drunk. I know exactly what I'm doing. Hence the reason why I can't get this open. But let's try scissors. See what that comes up like. So I'm only going to use approximately 200 grams. I still haven't opened it. 200 grams or so of rice into this. And you may say, whoa, that's a lot of 200 grams. But never mind, it is. And can you actually see in the dish? Can you see in the dish? There you go. Now, it's important that you allow the flavor now, because remember in there we've got the butter, the flavors from the vegetables, the mixed herbs, and salt and black pepper. And we want to dry fry this, so that what we're doing now is releasing those flavors into those rice grains. So don't rush it. As long as the heat is not high and you're not hearing the rice pop at you, you're okay. All right, so all you're doing again, you're just coating those rice grains with all those flavors. I have some chicken stock ready, and it is just that's the word, chicken stock that I just added some hot water, and I'm just going to add it into it. And it's important that you hear that sound. That sound tells you that your pan is at sufficient heat for it to start evaporating and swelling those rice grains, because rice cooks by absorption, meaning it sucks in the water like a stock. No, it sucks in the stock like a sponge. I'm not drunk. And then it swells. Okay, so you're gonna add all of it, and you're gonna allow it to simmer. Remember, we're using basmati rice, and notice that the rice is below or sort of the same level as the actual stock itself, and it's not higher. If I were to add too much water, what will happen is that my rice itself will become very soft and sticky, and we want the grains to remain individual, so it's kind of flowy when you actually serve it up. So we want it to look like that, so it must sit literally just above the rice. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is put the lid down and turn the heater down to low. And are you looking at me? Turn the heater down to low so that the absorption method happens. So this is a method of cooking rice by absorption. Okay, and then we will see what it looks like. Alright, so we're going to check the rice and see what it looks like. That has come up really beautifully. And what I want you to pay close attention to is how flaky it is. So it falls apart. So it's not sticky. I'm going to use my other hand, it'll be easier for me as a right-handed. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Nice and grainy. That's the texture we're looking for. So it's not stuck together, you know, like if you're making sushi. So it's very grainy. That's what we're like aiming for. Right, the next thing to look at now is the lamb. See what that looks like. That's come up really nicely. As you can see, it's created its own juices. All right, so remember, do not add any liquid in there at all. Let it sit in its own juices and cook independently and fast. So what we're going to do now is use our saucepan that we originally was frying off the vegetables in. Now, some of you may look at that and say, oh my god, it's burnt. No, it isn't. That is literally flavor you're looking at. So we're going to add some stock into there and to release all of those flavors out of that pan. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is to make some gravy up for the actual dishes we're going to be serving. I'm going to deglaze the pan with a little bit of red wine, and I'm using this particular bottle here. It's a Margaret River. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I am. Cabernet and Merlot. All right, and I'm also going to add a little bit of chicken stock as well, with some chopped tin tomato as well. In Australia they call them dice. In England we say chopped. Nevertheless, they're all the same. They're into pieces. Okay, and I'm going to use a little bit of chicken stock, as I said. Now, deglazing just simply means adding liquid, whether that may be stock, water, wine, to raise those flavors out of the pan that you've been frying in or sealing the meat in this particular case. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay. So as I said before, some of you may think, oh, that's burnt, but it isn't really. Okay, it's just all those flavors from the meat is actually just sitting there, and you really need to deglaze the pan, i.e. add a little bit of liquid so that it raises it all up. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. And yes, you may see smoke. This probably is a good time to add your fan into your kitchen so that it boils off. Okay, so don't worry about that. That's fine, not a problem. And you can see I'm adding it bit by bit, just so that I can add a little bit more, get it all over and done with. It's probably about 100 grams of red wine that I've actually added, and you can see the steam now has evaporated. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there just so that it keeps boiling off. I'm going to add a little bit of water as well. Okay, and I want that to bubble up, and again I will then want that to reduce so that it can start to thicken up, and I'm going to put it on high so it starts bubbling. I'm also going to add just a little bit of chopped tomatoes in, less than half to be honest. It's only myself and Carl, so I don't need much in there. Okay, so I'm just going to let that simmer down and reduce by half. And what that means is that once it starts to boil down and reduce, it will start to automatically thicken up and make its own gravy. All right, so we're going to then add a little bit of salt, pepper. Now, if you were so in a rush and you wanted to rush the process, you could add some tomato puree, but I'm not in a rush. I have nothing else to do at this point in time, so we're going to go with that. You can also add a little bit of butter once it has been reduced by half. And when I say by half, I mean the amount of liquid has been reduced by half of that particular original liquid that it was. All right. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to let that cook down, and I'm going to show you what it looks like once it gets to that reduction stage where it starts to automatically thicken up. And then what we will do is to pass it, meaning we're going to strain it so that we remove all of these sediments that's literally just sitting there. But we will do that once we've flavored it and it's ready. Okay. All right, guys, so once that is cooking, I just thought I'd let you know what I'm actually sipping on. So since I've been to Australia, I've been drinking this Bundaberg original rum, and it's been established in 1888. Now, it's an underproof rum, as it says on the bottle, and it's really unique flavor, actually. It's obviously it's made from sugar cane, because you know I'm a Caribbean girl. We, you know, us in Trinidad, we've got the original rum. No disrespect to Bundaberg, but you know, I just got to say that. But it's really got a nice depth of flavor. Carl is not too into it, but I love it. I think it's gorgeous. And I think this is my third glass. So I've been drinking Coke and rum. Now, I don't usually drink Coke. The only time I actually have Coke is when I'm drinking rum. And this Bundaberg, I thought it was actually the name of a plant or something. I didn't realize it is an actual town. So there you go, I've learned something. But it's a Bundaberg original, as it says on the bottle. And yes, I know, it's only a little bit left. In all honesty, I have drank it. Carl hasn't, he didn't like it. His loss, my gain. So I'm having it with Coke, and there isn't any ice, but the Coke is nice and chilled, and it's really, really nice, sort of caramelized depth of flavor. I'm going to try it in baking and see what it actually comes out like, and I'm going to let you know. But I think it's going to be good, because with the Coke you can really taste that original flavor that it has. I have not tasted that flavor before, and I can't really describe it. I guess I will at some point, but as for right now, it definitely is an original flavor, but it's nice. So if you ever come across Bundaberg Australian, you got to make sure and say Australian, because they're very proud that it's Australian. What it says, crafted in Australia. I haven't got my glasses on, but I think that's what it actually says. So yeah, if you come across it, definitely have a go. It has my 110% recommendation. It's gorgeous. It really, really is. I love it. This is my first bottle. I'm sure there are going to be many more, and I'm going to try lots of cocktails with it as well. As I said, I'm going to try it in some cakes and see what it comes out like. I'm going to try it in desserts as well and see what it comes out like. So I'm really intrigued about it, because I like adding alcohol into my cooking and see what it comes out. I like trying new things. I'm not afraid of trying flavors and different things to see what it tastes like. So yeah, so there you go. So that's why I said earlier, I'm not drunk at all. Carl thinks I'm a bit tipsy, but I'm not. I know very well what I'm saying. Yeah, I know very well what I'm saying. So yeah, so I don't know what he's talking about. But cooking is coming along really nicely. I will plate it up so you will see what we're eating today. You know what we're eating today already. I just told you, didn't I? Also, we're still in the where are we at? Baby, where are we at? Sorry? Where are we at again? No. B&B? Is it B&B? Airbnb, that's right. We're still in the Airbnb. So most of these cooking facilities or equipment is not mine. However, the slow cooker is. We actually bought this. I've never used a slow cooker before, only because I don't see the point really, but it was an offer and I thought, hey, when in Rome, you try something different. So I decided what to try. So I'll let you know exactly what the lamb actually tastes like. It's looking pretty good. Did I show it to you? I think I did. Yes, I did show it to you. Let me show you the gravy. It's starting to actually reduce now. Okay, so notice the color. Okay, originally when we started, you would have thought that it would have been black because the sediments within the pan was really darkened. Remember, we deglazed the pan with the red wine, we added some water, and what I didn't show you is that I added a teaspoon of stock, dried chicken stock. And when I say dried, I mean the reconstituted type. Okay, so I just added in there with the liquid and mix it in, and of course with probably about 50 to 60 grams of chopped tin tomatoes. And it's beginning to reduce, and as I said, once it starts to reduce, it will thicken automatically, so not to worry about it, just leave it. Okay, and then we're going to add a little bit of butter. Butter also helps to thicken and gives it a really lovely gloss and smooth texture to the gravy. So just leave it alone, don't rush it. It's literally in a medium heat. As you can see, there's not much steam coming off of it. It's just boiling away or simmering away quite gently. So just leave it alone, don't rush it at all. All right, so the next step I'm going to show you now is how to once it's thickened, to flavor it, and then we're going to serve it all together. All right guys, so the gravy has been reduced by half at this point, and you can see there's lots of little black spots of, sedimented in with the chunks of tomato. I have a sieve here and a smaller saucepan. I'm going to sieve it in so that it's nice and smooth, and I don't use any of those other bits that I don't want. I'm just going to smush it through. Now, these are the things you don't see when you actually go to a restaurant, what is actually taking place and how your gravy is actually made. So I'm just forcing it through there. I'm just going to let that come to the boil again because it's on a low heat at the moment. I'm going to add a little bit of butter. The butter helps to thicken as well as to give it a really sort of shiny, glossy texture. And let it bubble up, so don't worry about it. So as long as it's not steaming up too much. And at this stage, you can add, once the butter has melted in, you will then add your salt and pepper, etc. I'm just going to swirl that in, and notice how quickly I'm not doing it slowly. I'm really getting that in there. I'm really whisking it in with my spoon because I want it to melt quickly. So I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper now. A couple of swirls in there. I'm just checking that I took the lid off this time. And some salt. Remember, you added chicken salt, so don't go crazy before you actually taste it. That's looking good. So I'll give it a little taste on my hand to see what it tastes like. I'm going to let it reduce for about a minute or two to get slightly thicker because I feel it's a little bit on the jus side. Now, restaurants don't usually say gravy, they say jus. And what they're aiming at is to have sort of a thin, liquidy gravy, not so much thickened. When you're at home, you call it gravy because you want it to be nice and thickened, but in a restaurant, you'll probably get a jus. which is J-U-S, jus. Same thing really, just one is thicker than the other. So that's what we're aiming at. So it's coming along really nicely. So I want to let that reduce. Remember, reduction allows everything to amalgamate, and I use that word a lot, but that means all of the flavors to blend together really nicely. Okay, so let it go, leave it, don't worry about it. As long as you're not seeing lots of steam coming up and it's not burning, just keep an eye on it. So I'm going to let that go. Once it's done, I'm going to serve it up, and I'm going to show you the whole dish all together. Okay guys, so you can see this is cooked really beautifully, and only an hour in the slow cooker. All right, so I've already plated some rice here. All right, and you can see I'll just do the other plate as well. I don't know how much Carl wants, but I'm gonna have a little bit. Now you can use a mold to mold this out, but we're not going to worry about that right now. And if you wanted to add vegetables to this, you can, but I'm not going to worry about that. Also, there's already vegetables in the dish as it is. I'll put another one there. This meat is beautiful actually. It's lovely and tender also. How do I know? Because I tried it already. And if you wanted to, you can serve it up with some of the vegetables that was cooked. Remember, we added peppers to it when we fried up the peppers with the rosemary and garlic. And all I'm doing literally is just taking it out, just adding it on. Now for me, presentation is really important when presenting a dish. It's one of the reasons why we eat food, because it looks appetizing. All right, so I'm just literally scraping off those rice cakes. I don't want it to, remember our gravy, look at all of that liquid has reduced literally to a very small quantity. Okay, so look at how it's lovely and thick. No thickener was added, it was just a reduction, and it just means reducing it by a smaller quantity so that it adds really depth of flavor, color, texture and flavor to it. All right, just add it on. I'm just going to graze it all on there. Very simple home meal dish again. And again, remember, this reduction is made from red wine, so you're actually having a red wine jus, as they say in the restaurant. Again, it depends on how much you want. I know my husband loves gravy, so I'll add a little bit more just for him. And that's it guys, that is literally our lunch today. Looks absolutely gorgeous. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, give it a thumbs up, and give me your feedback. Let me know when you tried it, what it came out like, what it tastes like. We will surely let you know what it tastes like after. Okay, enjoy guys, bye for now, and happy cooking.